But there is some other news this week, and of course the ongoing NBA playoffs. And a game that is coming out soon, of course, we've covered it a couple of times before, Kenny, is NBA Playgrounds.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one a lot because, as I've stated on previous shows, it's good to have like a truly arcade title. And, you know, things that kind of annoy you in 2K are kind of more forgivable in those arcade titles because you're not expecting 100% sim basketball. So, it'll be interesting to see what they bring, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, I've always been a fan of NBA Jam, going back to the 90s, obviously. I'd always have NBA Live as the 5-on-5 realistic experience, realistic for the era, of course, and then Jam being the more casual approach and the fun of the high flying. Jam was the game you could always play with friends who didn't like basketball as much because it was more casual, and Street, of course, is the same. Street's a little bit more serious than Jam, I guess, but still definitely arcade oriented. But there's definitely room for the arcade basketball in the basketball gaming market, in the demographic. Glad to see it come back, and we've been covering it, as I said, last week. We talked a little bit about it, actually it was the week before last that we covered it, but we do have some more news that's come along in the past week, and that is the roster reveal. And there is over 200 current and former NBA players in the initial roster, because apparently there will be more players coming. And that's probably good news, Kenny, because they're looking at the roster and there's some noteworthy names missing.
Yeah, there are a few noteworthy names. I think the one that stands out the most is, well, both Isaiah Thomases, I guess. Given what kind of a season that Isaiah Thomas, current one, has had.
IT4.
Yeah, he should definitely be one of the big names in this game. But, as you said before, there's also no Giannis in this one, and this initial list anyway. So that's another big name omission.
Thon Maker is in there for the Bucks, so that's kind of
well,
fun.
That's
goes without saying.
That's all you really need. I mean, I guess representing the Bucks well.
That's 1-on-2. If you pick Thon Maker, it's 1-on-2. Otherwise, it's not fair.
No Matthew Dellavedova though, so that's kind of disappointing. As far you could have like a fairly Australian team.
That'd be funny if that was like that was the Bucks contingent. If it was if it was Dellavedova and Maker.
Yeah, definitely. Who else they have on their team? They've got Jabari Parker, who's in the game. About Chris Middleton, I didn't check to see whether he was in there. I don't think Chris Middleton doesn't look like he's in there.
Chris Dunn, Chris Humphries, Kristaps Porzingis, Kyle Lowry. No, he's not. He's not in there. Not in this initial roster, anyway.
Yeah, and I also noticed while you're bringing it up, Karl Malone and John Stockton are in there, but Sean Kemp and Gary Payton aren't, which we mentioned before the show. So
well, Kemp is, but he's not paired with Payton. So
it just makes me wonder.
The original Lob City, you've got the Kemp, obviously the finisher, but you've got Alfred Payton, if you want to put those together. Payton to Kemp. Tim Duncan is not in there as a recently retired player. Neither is nor is Kevin Garnett. Kobe Bryant, no Kobe.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting Kobe not to be in there. I don't know why, but it just seems like, I don't know. I guess I had my suspicion that he wouldn't be showing up in like these kind of games for a while, and I'm not sure exactly what I'm basing that on, but it was just a hunch, I guess. But
I suppose maybe the paperwork hasn't gone through for them to be part of the retired players, or indeed if they haven't joined that agreement yet, then they've got to reach that agreement separate to any of the other players.
I mean, that might be an issue, but there were definitely some kind of interesting role players in there that I noticed. One being Jakob Poeltl. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name to any Toronto Raptor fans, but he's definitely one I found to be fairly interesting because, I don't know a whole lot about him, and he seems kind of like, I don't know, is he a bench warmer at this point of his career? I'm not entirely sure, but
I've mentioned before, since I stopped doing the roster updates, I'm not as familiar with all the rosters as I used to be. But I'm not actually. I don't think I've heard of him. So, I mean, that's again not as familiar with all the rosters in the NBA as I used to be from doing all the ratings and everything for regular roster updates. But I mean, it kind of seems like an obscure pick.
One thing I do know him for was that during this series with the Milwaukee Bucks, people were bringing up the fact that he was drafted before Thon Maker because Thon Maker was I think he's starting at the moment. So and he had like one particularly good game where he was kind of contributing to the team cause a lot, and I guess it kind of made people question about whether he was a more valuable pick than Jakob Poeltl. But
Right. Oh well,
yeah,
there
that's
you go. You can settle that right there on the playground, right there. Turtle
definitely.
versus Maker.
Ian Mahimi is an interesting one as well. I mean, Service will build big man in the game, but not exactly one I expected to be in NBA playgrounds so much.
You would think they would go for all the big names first, much as they did with NBA Jam back in the
Yeah,
day. Um, you would think that rights wouldn't be an issue these days because it would all just come under the NBA, so MBPA likeness agreement, the license agreement they have. We don't sort of have that situation like we had back in the day with Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley and even Shaquille O'Neal for a couple of years there as well. And even David Robinson was missing from the PC version of NBA Live '95. So then was in NBA Live and other games through the rest of his active career with the Spurs, of course. So I mean, anyway, you wouldn't think that would be an issue, but apparently so. Somebody else. Jason Williams. There's an ideal legend to have in there for a game like this.
yeah, he would have been fantastic. The crazy handles and everything, and it would have been cool to see them even. I don't know, do they mocap these games, or do they just like what do they base their animations on?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I'm guessing there must be some kind of mocap to a certain extent.
I mean, probably not the dunks, I'm guessing, but
Probably,
um,
probably don't have people jumping 20 feet in the air, but
unless they're jumping over like a 2 feet hoop or something. But
trampolines, yeah.
I guess that would work. But one other interesting selection I noticed was Marcus Morris, but no Markeith.
You suggested perhaps we could have the Mortal Kombat palette swap situation going there.
Maybe. I mean, it is so hard to tell them apart. The only thing that I can really tell them apart from is their jerseys because they're playing for different teams now. But when I think they were both playing in, what was it, Phoenix?
Yeah.
They were just so hard. Like,
well, they've got identical tattoos, and they're pretty close to. They are identical twins, and I'm sure their mother can tell them apart. But
yeah. And I'm sure they had different numbers as well, but I'm not a big enough fan of the Suns to memorize the numbers of Marcus and Markeith. So
they are, very, very similar in appearance, and yeah, even down to getting those identical tattoos, as far as I can recall. So
it's not fair, you guys. It's so hard.
It's like the kids at school. If you ever went to school with identical twins, trying to pick them apart. No, I'm Marcus, not Markeith. No, I'm Markeith, not Marcus. Come on, man. Like I say, at least wear different color shirts or something, but. Of course, we had uniforms back in the day at public school here in Australia. So.
And then you get like those twins that just intentionally misdirect people and like, no, I'm the opposite one. Yep. And then the other person just doesn't even question it.
Yeah. Just taking a look at the list, see if there's anything else. Oh, Larry Bird's not in there, although Magic Johnson is. So that's kind of unusual for games. Like Larry Bird usually shows up as a legend in a lot of games because I believe he is part of the retired players association with the likeness rights, so he and Magic usually show up together in games like this. So
yeah, that's an interesting one because it's kind of like having a Mario game without Bowser or like a Sonic game without Dr. Robotnik. Like you kind of need one and have the other. Like it's because of their famous rivalry. It seems weird to have one in the game and not the other.
And of course you don't have Michael Jordan because he's a 2K exclusive, but if you can't have, obviously 2K has all three of them in some variation with all the historic teams, but yeah, you're looking at a couple of the players who are sometimes two of the top three or certainly two of the top five players in a lot of people's lists, and when, as you said, with the rivalry, yeah, it's kind of a shame and interesting that there isn't the two of them. We don't have Larry Bird, we do have Larry Johnson, Grandmama, so that's kind of cool though.
Yeah, I just checked for Scottie Pippen as well, and he's in there.
Scotty's in there, yep.
So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I guess the game is kind of nostalgic in that sense that it doesn't have Michael Jordan. And that's pretty much all the games we grew up with. At least,
yeah. We just need we need a roster player in there, and
yeah,
and that'll just complete the effect. So some snubs, but it remains to be seen whether they actually update it. It is implied that there's going to be some other players to be added. Of course, they will be, as you progress through the game, you can unlock more players to build up your roster, kind of similar to the whole NBA Street home court. I just wonder if players will drop off the roster. I remember Eddie Curry complaining about not getting too many touches in NBA Street home court when I played. He quit the team in a huff as I had to replace him on the squad, as I recall.
I had the same problem with Antoine Walker because I was passing the ball to Josh Childress too many times.
Oh, wow.
Giving him too many shots. So, yeah, those are a couple of names that go back a bit now.
Walker not happy with see, Walker, he'd be great in a game like this where you actually do have a 4-point shot with a perfect release. So,
but, Walker is excellent in 2K17 because that game is based around parking lot 3. So, he just
one of your best.
He came up
guys.
in the wrong era.
I think a lot of players that sort of were ahead of their time on that were probably looking at the league now, thinking, "Man, all the threes that I could chuck up without any kind of." But he's been a real beast for you in my team, hasn't he?
Yeah, I have the Ruby reward, Antoine Walker, and he's fantastic. Like, he's gotten me out of a jam so many times. I did find it funny when I had the Lakers jersey equipped, and I noticed he was wearing the number 8, and that just made me laugh so much. It was like the Barney dressing up as Krusty the Clown. Maybe not a flattering analogy for Antoine Walker there.
Not even Homie the Clown, not even Homer Simpson.
Oh yeah, there was that one too. Scratch that. I'll use the Homer one then. Yeah.
No, I just think the Barney one's just even more insulting. So it's not even Homer as Krusty. It's Barney, the even worse bootleg Krusty. So
Antoine Walker, if you do end up coming across this podcast, I love you. Don't take that personally. It's just that.
Coming up, it's awkward because next week's guest, as it happens.
Oh no! Oh man! Yeah, I think Ben will have to fill in that one. Yeah, Ben loves him too. So
Oh yeah! I'm gonna have to do that one solo. So. No, sadly we don't have employee number 8 and one-time employee number 88 on the show next week. Sadly, but hey, if you're listening, Antoine, definitely love to have a chat. But. So NBA Playgrounds comes out in May, so next week is May, so I think it's probably towards the end, so a couple of weeks away at least. We'll keep covering it, of course, and yeah, looking forward to having another arcade game on the market, even if some of the players that we'd like aren't in there.
Yeah, bring it on. I'm just looking forward to seeing if it comes out and whether it gets like a physical copy or whether it's just like a PSN thing.
It is digital only.
Digital only?
Yep.
Okay. So, I'll be keeping an eye out on the PSN, I guess.
Absolutely.